It's kind of funny that you're saying like you should have all this water and all this stuff. Should you prepare like when you're prepping and you're collecting items? Should you think, hey, I'm going to be moving, or should you be thinking, oh, I'm going to stay put at my house or wherever so I can stockpile as much as I want? I mean, what would you recommend to do? Like, should you prepare to move if something happened?
Oh, yes. And I'm glad you brought that up. That one of the things that we prepare for, everybody, and you've heard it since we were probably in school, and it's been a long time since I've been in school, but you hear that, you know what, we're going to do a fire drill today. So we all waited, the fire drill went, we went in our little line, we went to the destination where we all had to gather. Everybody kind of checked and said, okay, here we are. I've got all of my 28 students, and now we're going to go back. Well, I like to think in prepping kind of like that, okay? We want to express what we do. And again, this is just for me. I don't want everybody that's going to hear this to think, boy, she's a know-it-all. She's telling me. I'm not. I'm telling you what we decided as our family so that we would be prepared. And so what we needed to do was sit there together and say, okay, we need to make a plan, because what if something happened and there was a flood or there was an earthquake or there was just anything that could happen and we had to leave our home? That's where I told you about the bug-out bag that I call it. Mm-hmm. Each family member we have has a bug-out bag. And in this bug-out bag, we put the basics like we talked about, depending upon, again, wherever anybody lives. It's better to have more clothes than you don't have to pile so many things in it that it weighs 100 pounds, But you need to think, okay, I need to have something that's going to be, tonight it may get warmer. So if I've left and I've got shorts, if I have shorts and I'm wearing flip-flops, I may get cold, or I may end up in an area where there's rocks and it's harder to climb. So you want to have some boots or some shoes for your area, whatever it might be. You want to have, you want to have things prepared to put in this bug-out bag. So, okay, we really want to stay at home. We hope we're going to stay at home. That's our plan. But sometimes plans change. So now I've got these bags, and each individual needs to put what they feel they need to do in their bag. Because, like I said, for me, we live in the woods. We live where there's, a lot of snow. There's different things that I'm going to need that somebody that's in the urban area may not need. They're going to need different things. We also have to think about rain or whatever your personal circumstance is. And you have a bag so that if something happened, you grab your bag, your spouse, your kids, your best friend, whomever's with you, has their bag. And in those bags, we also put, you can put little things in for kids. You can put, little bars that they could eat, little candy. You can put anything in it that your personal kid likes to eat or might want. Each one has to be individualized to your family and your needs. And then you have those. But, there's way too much to go into because I could go on and on. And but, for example, when we bug out, the plan that we have is, okay, if we cannot take a vehicle, and we have to walk, this is how we're going to do it. We also have a little trailer that we can pull behind our car, and it's ready. It's got stuff in it to, you're not going to be able to take your comfortable bed, but you're like, okay, what am I going to need? So in this, we put, okay, we've got stuff that we can put our sleeping bags in. We have stuff that we can have, if you want to put extra pads under your sleeping bag, you can put them in there. Food, water, okay, what else could I need? So, again, wherever you are, your individual needs you add to this little trailer. And it's not one of those trailers where you take everything out and then we go on a little camping trip and we come back, because you're going to lose stuff, because trust me, we've done it all. But it's specifically set back so that if there was an emergency, and like in fires, we see it in California all the time. Here in Oregon, not far from our house, just about 2 weeks ago, we had a 25,000-acre fire that cropped up from a lightning strike.
Just lightning?
Pardon?
It was just lightning? It was
lightning. A lightning hit the tree. We were in the middle of forest country, and it was 25,000 in just 3 days. And then on just down the road from it, there was another 500-acre one. So people had to leave. Okay, if you're living in that area, you're going to have to leave. So that's what you need to do. You think, okay, the world didn't come to an end, but now they've come and they said, listen, the fire's getting out of control. You need to get out of your home. So we can jump in our car. We have the things we need, and we can go. If you can't, then those bug-out bags you take with you then, too, of course. But on those quick instances where all of a sudden you're not realizing it maybe, and someone knocks on your door and says, get out now, the wind's changed, you got to go, you can grab those bags and you can get out. So there's just different ways you have to prepare based on where you live. But we like to think of, okay, here's our plan. If we go by foot, this is what we do. If we can go by car, this is what we do. And, I'm sure maybe you've read it, I don't know, about caches where people put caches somewhere they think, okay, this is where I'm going to be heading. So I'm going to build something, and I'm going to put supplies, and I can't just leave them out in the open, because if I leave them out in the open, anybody's going to walk by and go, what the heck is this? It
Right.
doesn't have to be huge, but you can use these caches, and you hide them, you bury them. It's kind of like geocaching, on the other end. You hide these, and you really important, make a little map where you put them, because in a crisis, you're not going to go, oh, gee, here, you can look at your little map and say, okay, here's where I'm going. This is, if we've had to walk a long ways, I have water stashed here, and I know where my cache is. There's just little things like that you can do, but you need to plan. Everything is a plan, because if you don't, just like in any crisis, things happen, and your mind, if you're not prepared and you haven't thought things out, your mind goes 100 miles an hour. And so planning out, and as a family planning it out, each person can say, Mom, you didn't say that. This is what you said, and oh, yeah, that's right. And so that's the way we like to do it, is by planning and by looking for what might happen, and not freaking out about it and sitting and dwelling on to the point where we don't live our lives. We have a full life. We have grandkids. We have a lot of fun, but we're pleased to say that if something happened, we are prepared to the best of our ability at that time.
When you're preparing and you think of the food portion, do you think like, oh, I should just pick up some candy bars and throw it in there? Or is this like, maybe you should buy some MREs or even like Mountain House? I mean, what would you recommend the type of food you put into your prepping?
I think individualizing it is really important, because you want to prepare with things that your family's going to eat. And you want to remember that you want to try to use lightweight items. Because, say, for example, at home it's one thing. You can say, okay, I have got my food storage. But in your food storage, you need to remember that you need to swap things out, because things expire.
Right.
So, it's kind of like, okay, I have beef stew. I have the things that we can eat. I have these things, but they have an expiration date. You can use the MREs. You know what? Those are good. There's also places that you can go online and you can buy these foods. You can go in there and buy food that are specifically made for preppers that have long life on the shelf. So we're talking about two things. One, at home, the stuff that you use, make sure it's the stuff that you use. Don't go and buy all this stuff that your family is never going to eat. I mean, I've actually had people laugh and say, you know what? We thought if we have to live, we're going to have tuna fish, we're going to have canned this. And their family did not like tuna, but it was something that they could store. So you store things that your family will eat when, for saying you're at home. You store, like for us, we have peanut butter, things that are good. They have protein in them. They have good things that you can use. And you can always have the little candy bars, the granola bars, different things like that. But just the first thing is make sure that you have the stuff at home that your family's going to eat. Then if you have to bug out, as I call it, you have to leave your home, you really need to think, this is great, but if I carry 10 cans of this and 10 cans of that, your bag is going to be really heavy. And if you have to walk a long distance, you're going to get tired. So I recommend putting in lightweight items when you can, and using those in your bug-out bags, and making sure that you have things that have nutritional value, because you're going to use up energy if you have to walk, and it's not going to do you any good if you're carrying so much that you're exhausted and you can't go very far. So I would say things that your family like and light items that are easy to carry, especially for children.
It's funny, you're talking about things that are nutritional, something light. And I like to tease my mother. She has a 20-pound Boston Terrier. She's old. It's an old dog. And I tell my mother, if anything ever happens, we're going to eat the dog. But it is kind of a serious thing, though. I mean, if things happen, what do you do with your pet? Do you take them with you? Should you prepare to have dog food maybe? Or it's not even worth it?
Oh, no, listen, here's what's funny for us. We have all kinds of animals. Each one's going to be different. I mean, but we have our dog. And when you say that little dog, we have a Mastiff, an English Mastiff.
That's a big dog.
And he is 15 months old. And
still a baby.
He is right now about 190 pounds.
Ooh. Oh, it's going to get bigger. Maybe.
Yeah, and he is the light of our life, especially since all of our kids are gone. We have this, everybody laughs and says Mom and Dad get dogs and they treat the dogs better than their children. Well, he's kind of spoiled. He has a backpack that we have for him, and it's a pretty good-sized one, and it has, it has the zippers and stuff, and we will put the things for him in his backpack. That makes me smile because when you said you would eat him, we could live on our dog for a little while.
A couple of months, you got it.
Yeah, if my husband heard me say that, he would look at me and go, Patty, we will eat you before we do the dog. Yeah, you have, your pets are important. Now, like I say, we have horses, we have donkeys, we have things. We've often thought, it would be great if we could just load up and just take all of them with us. But in some cases, it's kind of, I don't know if you've ever watched the old Westerns, but sometimes, they just had to open the barn and they just let their animals go.
Right, like you're free.
In our case, if something really, really bad happened, with our big horses and our mule and things, we would let them go so that they could go because they're smart enough that they're going to go away from whatever's bad and hopefully, be okay. But our dog, we would take with us. He has his backpack. We would pack the things that we need for him. And also remember, we don't do this at home because he is so big, and if we just fed him people food all the time, I don't even want to think about how big he'd be. But they can eat people food too,
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind that, you have that beef stew that you took. You have different things. And so, yes, for us, our pet goes. He has a backpack. We have his bug-out bag, and he will go with us.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you talking about this.
Well, you know what? I really appreciate it. It's crazy because when I started this, I never really thought about, talking to anybody. I'd much rather write about it. And so I appreciate this opportunity, and I hope that, it's made a little bit of sense to your listeners, and if they have questions, I'm going to kind of give myself a little plug here.
Okay,
because
no problem.
I do have my books out there, and so if they'd like to read, and keep in mind, these are not books written for, like I am the brains of all brains. It's just kind of a way to encourage my readers to think about prepping and how to get started. So I have a book called The Doomsday Prepping Crash Course, The Ultimate Prepper's Guide to Getting Prepared When You're on a Tight Budget. And then I also have my latest one is The Pocket Guide to Prepping Supplies, more than 200 items you can't be without. And they can also visit my website, which is preppersillustrated.com. And I would love to get questions or comments, so I would really appreciate them coming on and you coming on and looking at it. And I thank you for this opportunity, and you were a delight. I really appreciate talking with you.
Thanks for listening to The Shawn Green Show, the entertainment guru. You could friend him on Facebook, Shawn Green Show Media, or follow him on Twitter @Shawn Green Show. The Shawn Green Show on WGN Plus and ShawnGreenShow.com.